6 countries in a certain region sent a total of 75 representatives to an international congress, and no 2 countries sent the same number of representatives. Of the 6 countries, if country A sent the second greatest number of representatives, did country A send at least 10 representatives? So when reading this question, one thing that stands out is it does not really fit into any of the patterns that I'm used to recognizing, any of the question types I'm used to recognizing on the Gmat. It seems like it's a bit of a one-off question and could take a lot of time. And it also sort of seems like it's going to maybe combine algebra with logic, with maybe just thinking about it. And so I'm certainly on alert that if I end up getting bogged down on this question on an actual test, that I might have to move on from it or just guess between 2 answer choices if I can eliminate 3 of them. But just because something is a one-off question does not necessarily mean it's hard. So let's try and work through it. And so we know we have these 6 countries with a total of 75 representatives. So country A plus B plus C plus D plus E and F should give us 75 representatives. Now, this is important. No 2 countries sent the same number of representatives. It's especially important if we end up testing numbers here, because we have to make sure that we don't give 2 countries the same number of representatives. And then they tell us A is the second greatest. And so there's no great way to incorporate that information other than to just make a note of it. I want to know, did A send at least 10 representatives? So is A greater than or equal to 10? Because that is what at least means. And this is all of the information they have given us. And so let's move on to our statements. One of these 6 countries has sent 41 representatives to the Congress. And so ultimately, we really only care about A. So perhaps the first thing to ask is it possible that A sent the 41 representatives to Congress? And it is not, because if A sent 41 and A is the second greatest number of representatives, then the greatest representatives, the country that sent the greatest, would have had to have sent at least 42 representatives. And in that case, you would already be over 75. And so it cannot be A. So let's just assign a country at random. We'll say country B sent the 41 representatives. And so statement 1 is telling us that A plus 41 plus C plus D plus E plus F is equal to 75. And we subtract the 41 from each side, we get A plus C plus D plus E plus F is equal to what, 34? Okay. So let's think about what are we doing. So if we want to test numbers here, and our question is asking, is A greater than or equal to 10? It's data sufficiency, so we're trying to prove insufficiency. That means we want to see if we can come up with an example where A is greater than or equal to 10, and then also an example where A is not greater than or equal to 10. And so if we want to find the minimum value, for example, that A can be, well, one strategy by which we can do that is we can try and maximize what everything else is. I would say a good place to start, though, is just test. If we want to know, is A greater than or equal to 10, let's start by testing, can A be equal to 10? So if A is equal to 10, the rest of our countries here have to sum to, 24? Remember, A has to be the second greatest. So everything here has to be less than 10. So I'm going to just make this 9, 8. This gets us to 27. So I can make this 7 because that gets us to 34, but that's not a problem because I can just make this 6 and then this 1. 19 plus 8 is 27 plus 7 is 34. But this is good. So what is this in terms of answering our question? So here A is equal to 10, and so this is a yes to our question, which means for our next example, if we are trying to prove insufficiency, we want an example where a is not greater than or equal to 10. And one thing that I just realized is this is good because I could just make a 9, for example. So you would not want to test any more numbers. You wouldn't want to test 11, for example, because that's just going to give you another yes. And if I make a 9 here, I can keep the rest of my numbers pretty much the same because everything else still has to add up to 24 now. But I subtracted 1 from here, and I'll just add that to my f, and everything else can stay the same. Well, actually, no, this guy's go down, though, because my countries will have to be different. It looks like this will still work out because we got the 17 plus 7, 24. 6 is 30. So this is going to be 4 now. All my countries are different. A is still the second most. Because don't forget, my 41 was just incorporated here. And so this is good. And this gives me a no to my question, which is good to prove insufficiency. Now that was a lot of work just for a single statement. Hopefully statement 2 will not require as much. Country A sent fewer than 12 representatives to the Congress. And so this is good because we were organized and took the time to think of good numbers in statement 1. I can see that I can reuse both of my examples from statement 1 in statement 2 because both of my values for A are less than 12. And since this was insufficient, statement B by itself will be insufficient, but C will also be insufficient because you can reuse both of these examples for both statements together as well. And so that leaves just E. So if you do your work up front, really is a slow down to go faster approach. E.